Dak Prescott is fighting off a calf strain to play on Sunday. Will he be healthy enough to get back on track? Maybe even win MVP? Dark horse, Broussard, dark horse. Speaking of quarterbacks dealing with injuries, would it be a big mistake for the Browns to rush Baker back for Sunday's showdown with the Steelers? And it's Thursday morning, which means the Bud List is back. And with that, we say welcome to First Things First. Woo! Getting ready for Halloween. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes. Oh, Broussard, this guy, Patrick Mahomes, forget making your under duress list. Is there a chance he could top it?
There is a chance, Jenna. There is a chance. Nick, you'll be all right.
Don't do that to your list. Don't undermine the credibility of your list.
All right, we'll get to the Broussard under duress, but we got to start with a brutal night for the Lakers on the road, taking on Russell Westbrook's former team, the Thunder. LeBron out again and Russ struggling again. How about this? Lakers led by 26 points late in the second and couldn't hold the lead. Russ turned a 20-point triple-double into a quadruple-double because he actually turned the ball over 10 times last night. OKC hadn't won a game until last night against the Lakers after being down, I'm going to say it again, 26 points. Insult to injury, Russ tossed in the final seconds after he went after Darius Bazley for dunking. But here was Russ after the game on all those turnovers.
No, it's just me. I ain't gonna take the ball. Simple. Just making plays and trying to make lobs and too many mishaps on my part. So this just on me. But I'm gonna take care of it. I know that, and keep the game simple because we need those possessions, especially in games like this.
All right, so Chris Broussard, you think last night's loss was more about LeBron's absence or Russ's struggles?
Look, I'll play along, and if I have to answer that question, I'll say Russ's struggles. But the fact is, it was really neither. You shouldn't need LeBron James to beat the 0-4, that's what they were entering the game, Oklahoma City Thunder. They're probably the worst team in basketball. All right, and Houston, for goodness sake, beat them by 33. They were one of 4 teams entering the game that was shooting 40% from the floor. One of 5 teams in the NBA. League worst 40%. And the Lakers, for all of Russ's turnovers, their defense, which has been bad all year so far, was horrific. And they allowed Oklahoma City, who I mentioned was shooting 40% from the field entering the game, to shoot 50% and just shoot 40% from 3. All right? It was ridiculous what was happening. And I think the Lakers got up 41-19 after one quarter and relaxed. And then once they, Oklahoma City plays hard, they come back. And now the Lakers have to kind of turn it on again, and they couldn't. But we talked about Westbrook. Yes, he was bad. I mean, you mentioned the quadruple-double, the 10 turnovers. He had 4 in the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. That kind of, the game had already been turned, but it allowed Oklahoma City to get a little bit of cushion. They went up by 6. But the Lakers still had a shot at the end. And Russ takes a bad three-pointer. Remember, he's a 17% shooter this season from 3. And that's actually a boost. He was at 9% a few days ago. All right? I guess he thought he was hot. He takes a bad 3 at the end of the game and misses with 27 seconds left. Malik Monk, who I sang Malik Monk's praises yesterday, he throws up an air ball from 3, which I don't know what he was thinking because he took it quick. And I got Anthony Davis, I got Melo out there, and even Russ. I'd rather get the ball in one of their hands. And then Melo gets a steal late, and he throws up an air ball from 3, wide open. And so Russ, yes, was bad. You can't be turning it over 10 times, Nick. But it was a lot more than Russell Westbrook to blame for this loss.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I'm going to focus on the defense and the coaching. The defense, they've given up 115 points or more in every game this season. No Lakers team ever has started the year giving up 115 in 5 straight. Even those awful teams post-Kobe, pre-LeBron, no Lakers team's ever done this. And the fact that the Lakers, because they were up 26 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter, and then they were trailing entering the fourth quarter. So from that, when they were up 26 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter to the end of the game, they gave up 80 points. That's a pace of 148 points in a 48-minute game against the Thunder, who Broussard said it too kindly. There's no maybe they're the worst team in basketball. They're the worst team in basketball. At the end of this year, you might very well be able to count all the Thunder victories on 2 hands. I think 10 wins is in play, and one of them just happened last night. So that can't happen. And the fact that the Thunder were able to erase the deficit entirely before the fourth quarter even started is actually even worse for the Lakers, because what that means is they had their attention by the fourth quarter, and they couldn't beat them for a quarter. And that was, the defense got a little bit better then, but then the turnovers and the offense was awful. This will be the worst loss of the season. And Wilds, I'm going to zero in on one small thing that's not a small thing. I mean, Frank Vogel, I understand the players maybe, they didn't really play in the preseason, a little rusty. Frank Vogel's got to snap into it. At the end of the game, 35 seconds left, down 1, after a timeout, got to have a stop. You have 2 timeouts. If you get the stop, you're calling timeout to set up your play. So it's a defensive possession. Why is Carmelo Anthony on the court? What are you doing? Oh, you scored. OKC called timeout. There's 40-ish seconds left. You had setting the play. Why, on a defense-offense situation, is Carmelo Anthony on the court? I love Melo. He's not there to help you get stops when you're going to call timeout after the play. That's bad coaching. He had Russ and Rondo on the court together again for stretches last night. That's bad coaching. Yep. So, yes, of course, if LeBron was there, Wilds, they would have won. But this is the Thunder. This is a terrible team. And to lose this game the way they did, it's just unacceptable.
We're a little worried. You're going through it this week, buddy. Between the Chiefs and the Lakers, I feel like we're having like a.
You guys keep saying that. I'm not a Lakers fan.
I didn't accuse you of a Lakers fan.
I'm not a Lakers fan.
I'm just saying you're going through it a little bit.
Okay.
I thought you had a fondness for LeBron James. LeBron plays on the Lakers,
Yeah, and LeBron plays.
All right, Broussard, here's my thing.
Well, if that's the case, then I should be happy when they lose without him. But go ahead, Wilds. I mean, if that's the case, if it's just a LeBron thing, then last night was great for me. Look at the Lakers. They can win the title with him. Without him, they lose to the Thunder. Add it to the GOAT resume. I'm just saying. But go ahead, Wilds. Sorry.
All right, so I think it's time to start worrying about the Lakers' age. And here's why. When you get a little bit older, and we're burying the lead now because it's Broussard's birthday, but I'm also a little bit older, you got to have your old man antennas up. Like New Balance released some sneakers, a new collaboration. I'm like, ooh, do I like those? Are those cool? Or do I like them because they're New Balances? The Lakers need to have their antennas up. Why? Because 36-year-old Melo airballed a 3? No, that's not it. Is it because old man LeBron has already missed 40% of the Lakers games? That's not it either, Broussard. It's because Russell Westbrook is talking about playing the game the right way. At the end of the game, Russ gets ejected because Darius Bazley, 21 years old, gets this dunk. Everybody loved it. Everyone loved it. Oh, everyone's happy except Russ. Broussard, in his post-game comments, guess what he starts talking about? Unwritten rules, like in baseball, you don't flip the bat. He actually said that. That wasn't your great uncle that you only see on Thanksgiving. That was Russell Westbrook. Here's the thing. Thunder have a reason to celebrate. If we can show the graphic, this is not only a statement win for the Thunder, it's a statement win against the entire Lakers franchise. 25 years, 239-0. Thunder put an L on the record.
Wow.
So, Broussard, were you okay with Russ being mad at Bazley for the end of the game dunk?
Not at all. Bravo for Darius Bazley. He had every reason to celebrate. I didn't even know this stat you just threw up there, Wild, so good job on that one. But look, this is a young kid. He scores 20 points. That's a season high. You beat the Lakers, the best franchise in the league, and you beat Russ. obviously, who made his career in Oklahoma City. So I have a pet peeve with professional athletes who are being paid millions of dollars for complaining about an opponent running up the score, flipping a bat, which, by the way, they do flip bats now in baseball. But all of that, like, I have a pet peeve with that. If you don't like it, stop them. If you don't want Duress Bailey to have a celebratory dunk at the end of the game, Russ, don't have 10 turnovers. Don't have 10 turnovers.
Fine.
How about that? That's what you should be mad about.
That's totally fine, and that's right. And I like Bailey, clutch client, by the way. But Russ also shouldn't have been thrown out for this. Like, this is more of a story because of the overreaction by the ref. You don't have to throw him out. He's just yelling at him, don't do that, don't do that.
Well, it was his second tee, though.
The NBA's...
It was
I understand, but you didn't have to tee him up.
That's why he was ejected.
There was no reason to tee him up. The Lakers are inbounding the ball. The game's over. There's no reason to tee him up.
That's
a little
fair.
overreaction by the ref. But good job, Bailey. Good to see you thriving, young man.
Also, a wasted game-high 30 points out of Anthony Davis in the loss last night. Lakers host the Cavs tomorrow night. Hopefully that's a win. Speaking of Cleveland, Baker says he's got a chance to play Sunday against the Steelers, but would it be a mistake for Cleveland to rush him back? We'll talk about that next. But first, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni put a microphone in his face and you'll get gold.
Oh, goodness.
Here he is talking now about the growth he has seen from his 2-5 Eagles.
You know, the results aren't there right now, but what's going on here is that there's growth under the soil. I put a picture of a flower up, right, and that it's coming through the ground, and the roots are growing out, and the roots are continuing to grow out. And the only way the roots grow out every single day, and they grow stronger and they grow better, is if that we all water, we all fertilize, we all do our part. And so that was my message today, because we are going through tough times, and everybody wants to see results. But just keep doing what we're doing, keep watering, and look at yourself first, and know if are you watering and are you fertilizing every day. So when it's time to pop, it'll pop.
We're talking some Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's playing with one shoulder. I mean, why not? Still dealing with that torn left labrum in his shoulder, but after taking last week off, Baker says he's feeling better. So could he play in Sunday's AFC North showdown with the Pittsburgh Steelers? He was asked just that yesterday. Listen to what he had to say.
Is playing Sunday a possibility? I know you said you're going to see how it goes, but
absolutely.
And, you know, I think a lot of people heard fractured bone, and the reaction was maybe Baker should shut it down. Was that ever discussed? Has that been discussed at all?
Shut it down as in like for the season?
Yeah.
No. People talk on the outside.
Sure.
They don't know how I feel, nor do they decide whether I can go or not.
Happy guy. Happy press conference. Chris Broussard, Baker suiting up Sunday against the Steelers would be blank.
Jen, it would be so Cleveland. Now, you guys know it's no secret on this show that I'm rugged. I'm a rough and tumble guy. You know why? Because I'm from Cleveland. All right? We play through stuff. Cleveland gets mocked. Cleveland gets spit upon, you know, metaphorically. And nobody likes Cleveland. They underestimate it all the time. But Cleveland keeps fighting through it. All right? They fight through duress, and that's what Baker's doing. Now, I know he's got some detractors in the city. All right? Everybody doesn't love him. But this will endear him even more to the fans of Cleveland, certainly if they get a W. And look, for all of that, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's fairly common to play through a torn labrum. Obviously, the bigger issue to me is the fractured bone, and that's maybe the problem there. But Kevin Stefanski is on top of it with the medical staff. He's saying the medical staff right now is good to let him go if he gets through the next few days of practice. So they're not being too reckless. But I like the gumption and the toughness and the fortitude that Baker is showing. We know that teams, you know, they can take on the personality of a quarterback, even though he's not their best player. But this will help get that team going and could lead them to a big win, because they don't want to fall back too far in that AFC North, Nick. So I like Baker going out there. It fits the city.
I totally disagree with you. This is bad management.
I know.
Of course, Baker wants to play, but it's not his job to decide. My 8-year-old the other day said to me, Daddy, you and Mommy can leave me home alone. Overnight, I'll be fine. No, we can't and you won't. It's our job to tell you, no, we're the adults in the room. Of course, Baker wants to tough through it. He needs to be protected, pardon me, I'm getting spitting angry on this. He needs to be protected from himself. What the hell are we doing here? It's a quarterback with a shoulder injury. Guess what you fall on when you get
franchise quarterback.
Your shoulder. Like what? It is, I'm not saying you have to shut him down for the season. I'm not saying that. But at least give him more time to see if it heals a little bit more. And the Browns are not the Jets where it's like, oh my God, we forgot to roster a backup quarterback. Mike White, come on down. Case Keenum's fine as far as backup quarterbacks go. So let Case play. Pittsburgh doesn't have a good offense anyway. Wilds, I am, to use
makes no sense.
Broussard's favorite
no
word, gobsmacked by this. Gobsmacked.
We also just went through this last week when Baker's like, I decide whether or not I go in. And then Stefanski's like, yeah, Case Keenum's going to play. Broussard, I don't doubt your ruggedness. I would never do that, especially on your birthday. But if Baker gets sacked and he falls on his shoulder and he goes back into the sideline like, oh, Baker, what happened? He's like, you know that shoulder that's fractured? I think I fractured it. I'm like, medical team, like, what? You broke your broken shoulder? Why are you playing in the broken shoulder? So, Jenna, I think he's got to sit down. I think Stefanski would sit him down. I like Baker's press conference, honestly. He's trying to be tough and rugged like Broussard. But just sit down, let it heal up a little bit.
He has to. He has to if they have any chance to salvage the season. Plus, my guy, Case Keenum. Give my guy Case. Let Case cook. I'm going to start that one. Back talking Patrick Mahomes. Facing the pressure of being back under 500 yet again. Will he be atop Chris Broussard's under duress list? It is a birthday version of the Bud list. It is next. First things first. My 6-year-old wants to make you a cake. Here we go. Time for Chris Broussard's under duress list. Week 8 getting off to a pretty wonderful start tonight. Packers, Cardinals, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, little Thursday night football. All right, Chris Broussard, let us open this up to all of Week 8. Which 5 players are under the most duress entering this weekend?
Nick Wright, buckle up. All right, at number 5, Calvin Ridley. I'm going to start soft on you, Nick. Calvin Ridley. All right, receiver in Atlanta. Last year tied with Devontae Adams. That's a name for you. For the 5th most receiving yards in the league. Not so much this year. Now, he has been out a couple games for personal reasons, but he's only averaging 9 yards a catch. Now, Nick, I'll give you love. Atlanta, what have they won? 3 of their last 4? They're back in it, right? They're 3-3 now. Yeah. And they're trying to keep the momentum going. They got a tough game with Carolina. They need Ridley to return to being Calvin Ridley. All right, that's why he's under duress. Number 4, Jamal Adams. Just in the offseason, 4 years, $70 million, highest paid safety in the league. And he falls off big time. We've all seen his gaffes in the passing game. But he's not even doing it as far as rushing the passer. He had 9.5 sacks last year. 3-time Pro Bowlers, got 0 sacks this year. Seattle, they got Jacksonville. So they can right themselves quickly, head into the bye wing, bring Russ back, and then they can see if they can get to the playoffs. But they need a big win. He needs to rebound. That's why he's under duress. Number 3, Tua Tagovailoa. Was on it, I believe, last week, but I had to keep him on. Look, we all know what's going on with Tua. And I feel bad for the guy. He's only played 13 games in Miami, and they're already giving up on their 5th pick, the first-round pick, the 5th guy chosen in 2020. I mean, I feel for him because we all know that they're going after Deshaun Watson. Supposedly, reportedly, they've agreed in principle to a trade. So Tua, and here's the ironic thing. He's coming off 2 of his best games. He averaged 310 yards passing over the last 2 games, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's no longer playing for Miami, though. He's playing for his future employer. Who is it? Is he going to Houston in the trade? Doesn't seem that way. So where does he end up next year? There's pressure on him. All All right, here we go. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. All right, look,
there we go.
For the last 3 years, Mahomes has been indisputably the number 1 quarterback in the world. And now, for the first time, he is facing doubters. He's facing real adversity for the first time in his career. And some people are even saying there, I would take this young quarterback for the long haul over Pat Mahomes. I even thought Mahomes was second guessing himself in the second half of the game last week. So he needs to come back out and get righted. And a perfect opponent. You got the New York Giants. All right, you go out there, you have an old-time Pat Mahomes game. You whack, to use your word, Nick, mollywop the Giants. Then you head into your next 3 games where the competition rises. Green Bay, Las Vegas, and then Dallas. So this is the weekend for Patrick Mahomes to return to being Patrick Mahomes and put all the doubters to bed. And at number 1, I am sticking with the Chiefs. And I'm going double.
Oh my
Frank
God.
Clark and Chris Jones. We've been talking for weeks, really since the season started, about how bad that Chiefs defense is, and we've been giving them a pass. We've been talking about Mahomes got to do this, Tyreek and the drops, all of that. How about the defenders, especially these 2? They're making a combined contractually $184 million between them. They both made the Pro Bowl last 2 years. Frank Clark, 27 sacks, Nick, in the previous 3 seasons. You know how many he's got now in 4 games? 0. And Chris Jones, 32 sacks over the previous 3 years. Guess how many he's got in 5 games this year? 2. They have the worst sack rate in the league. They've got 8 total in 7 games. All right, they can't rush the passer. They can't stop the run. They're giving up 6.6 yards per play. That's the second most in history. Not this season, in history. So I need these 2 to be better. I'm not tired of putting it all on Patrick Mahomes. I need Chris Jones and Frank Clark to step up. And again, you got the Giants. So do it this weekend and head into those 3 tough games coming up with some confidence.
Ooh, I could smell a Giants upset, though. Couldn't you, Broussard? A little Giants upset? Like how they played the Bucks tough last year? Not right. You know, we had our upsets tomorrow, but it's getting close. I've got one ad for you. I want to put our guy Odell on the list. Odell has gone from being talked about too much to being talked about not enough. He's only played 5 games. He's got 16 catches, and he's got as many touchdowns as you and I. The best Odell highlight was actually made by Daniel Jones last week with his one-handed catch. We got the trade deadline coming up. I think it's time to say Cleveland does not rock. It does. I'm not, in real life. But for Odell, it does not. Broussard, I think he needs to pack his bags and get out of there. I don't think he should demand a trade necessarily, but suggest a trade. A lot of Packers talk. I would like to see him in Baltimore with Lamar, now that offense is kind of cooking. Maybe go give Justin Herbert a new weapon. Our guy Dusty wants to do a straight-up trade for Michael Thomas. I think that's interesting. So I'd like to add Odell, a fellow Cleveland native, to your bud list.
Not bad, but first of all, there's no way they're trading him to Baltimore. Could you imagine that, giving him to a division rival? That is great. So I don't see that. I don't see Odell getting traded. I'll be honest. I see him staying in Cleveland. But you're right. He does need to step up. He's been on the bud list before. I gave him a respite, but I don't mind having him at 5.5, right behind Ridley. 5.5.
Well, I guess it would be 6.5 because your 5-person list already had 6 people on it. Wilds, you're a good teammate because you didn't say what you were really thinking, what the audience is thinking, which is twofold. The first one is this show's obsession with the Kansas City Chiefs is bordering on unhealthy, and we need to discuss it in a meeting afterwards. My God, guys. They're playing the Giants this week. No one's under duress when you're playing the Giants. And the other thing the audience is thinking is that's the worst list I've ever seen. I once saw a list of best Thanksgiving foods. It was 18 items long. Turkey, not on it. That list, better than this list. So what's my change?
I think we talked about
Start from scratch, throw this in the trash, start over. Show the real under duress list. Sorry, Broussard. All of them are out. 5 new guys. Number 5 is Baker Mayfield. You know how I know he's under duress? He's literally playing with a broken shoulder. Number 4 is Jimmy Garoppolo. You know how I know he's under duress? His coach hates him, and he just turned the ball over 3 times and got outplayed by Carson Wentz. Number 3 is Jared Goff. You know why he's under duress? Their entire game plan was let's win one for the golfer against his old team. And guess what happened? They were within a score at the end of the game. And what did Jared Goff do? Throws a pick in the end zone to lose it. Number 2 under duress, Jalen Hurts. You know why he's under duress? The Eagles are already spending all their time scouting quarterbacks. They have the Miami pick. They have the Colts pick. They have their own pick. Jalen Hurts is auditioning for a job somewhere. And number 1, how this guy doesn't make anywhere on the list, it's just an abomination. Sam Darnold got benched for Madam P.J. Walker this week. You ever heard of him? Me neither. He played at Temple half-decade ago under Matt Rule. That's why he's in the NFL. Sam Darnold threw the ball 25 times for a rousing 115 yards. He has been the worst quarterback in the league since the 3-0 start. So, Broussard, that's the actual under duress list. I hate to do this to you, but I don't know what, maybe you know, a little pre-birthday celebration. You were, tying one on last night and you just slapped this together. Because this is a really, it's embarrassing for the show is what it is.
I was going to say, well, thanks a lot for making this a happy birthday, Nick. My goodness. Yeah, wow. I get that you're upset that I tore into the tears yesterday, and rightly so. But this makes no sense. All right, here's why. Last week, you ripped the Bud list apart because I had a bunch of mediocre quarterbacks on there. And then this week, you replaced my Bud list with a bunch of mediocre quarterbacks. And Baker's a little better than mediocre. I mean, come on. What is it? I know you're upset because the Chiefs are what they are. But no, the Chiefs, Nick, again, this Chiefs have obsession. To be on. The Chiefs could be playing. The Chiefs could be playing the first things first staff this weekend and still be under duress. All right, they've got to win. They're 3-4, Nick. They've got to win. All right, so they deserve. I thought about having 5 Chiefs on there. I really legitimately thought about just 5 Chiefs on there. So you count yourself lucky, Nick, that I went easy on your boys.
Yeah, you're lucky, Nick. Wow. You're lucky.
Wow. Sad.
Time for Nick to hand out some NBA medals. You mentioned this one while it's final seconds of Kings Suns. Harrison Barnes catches and launches, and it's good. Kings win at the buzzer in the desert, but Barnes just missing out on a medal. Nick, which 3 guys did it better last night?
All right, we'll start with the bronze. He wasn't super efficient, but he was the genesis of the comeback. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 27, 9, and 5, including that banked-in 3, which gave the Thunder the lead heading into the 4th. He gets the bronze medal. Silver medal, Giannis. Giannis had far and away the best stat line in the NBA last night. However, his team lost to a Thunder team that's playing quite well, by the way. Some good wins for them. So Giannis gets 40, 16, and 7. Only the silver. Had they won, he'd have gotten the gold. And the gold goes to someone who did win, Trae Young. The ho-hum regular game for Trae. 31, 5, and 7 for Trae Young against the Zion-less Pelicans. And they might be Zion-less through Christmas. That's a scary story, what's going on there with his foot. Trae Young gets his first gold of the year. Broussard, there is the podium. I know you agree with it, but because I just embarrassed you moments ago on the Bud list, you're going to find some issue with it.
Well, you're darn right I'm going to find an issue. Look, Giannis can be on there every night. Why don't you give some love to the Timberwolves? We know this 3-1 start isn't going to last. In a month, they're going to be eliminated from potentially getting on the podium. So give them love now. D'Angelo Russell, 29 points, a team high in a big victory over the defending champions. He should have made the podium.
You know what? That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Unlike the bub list, that makes sense. Yeah.
Fox and Dak Prescott. Fox Bet Sportsbook has Dak third in MVP odds right now behind Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. Will Dak be healthy enough, though, to stay on the MVP track come Sunday? Find out next. First things first. Sunday, it's a big doubleheader on Fox. First, the 49ers battle the Bears or other regional action. Then, in America's Game of the Week, Tom Brady leads the Buccaneers against Alvin Kamara and the Saints. It's the GOAT versus Broussard's dark horse MVP pick, Jameis. Basically, GOAT versus GOAT, all on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
13 touchdowns, 3 picks.
For the game in your area. Yeah, how no one can see he's the MVP, I don't know. Yeah, say no more. Literally say no more, because I have to say something else. Talk some Cowboys now. Quietly putting together a great season at 5-1, but Dak Prescott's still working his way back from that calf strain he's dealing with. He's been limited in practice all week. Head coach Mike McCarthy asked about his quarterback status for Sunday's game against the Vikings, and he said this.
Back on Dak here for a second. Is it fair to say that you're preparing as if he will play, or you're going in thinking he might not play? How do you view your mindset with him right now on a Wednesday?
I think I've already answered that. I mean, he's going to practice. He's going to go through the individual part of it. He's in the game plans. I mean, he's preparing to play. But, you know, he's got to cross the threshold to make sure he's full go.
We got former NFL coach, 3-time Super Bowl winner, and man with plan, Eric Mangini, joining us. Coach, top of the morning to you. Thank you so much for being here. Let us stick with this game. What's the plan for the Cowboys to avoid the upset in Minnesota this weekend?
Well, you know, I always like to start my game plan with something that Nick can get behind and Nick is excited about. So I'll start it here where they need to have 30-plus carries and 30-plus rushing attempts combined. And if you go back to Dak's rookie year, that was the program. They led the NFL in rushing attempts. When you look at this 5-game winning streak, they've averaged 34 rushing attempts per game, and they're averaging 5.1 yards a carry. And when you can run the ball like that, it opens up everything offensively. It opens everything up in the passing game. It protects your young defense, and they need to stay with that program, combined with the fact that Minnesota's 26th against the run. So that's the first thing that they have to do. The second thing that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to find a way to keep Dak upright. And this becomes even more important with the fact that he's nursing this calf injury. They're not going to be able to roll him out of the pocket. He's not going to be able to move against pressure as much. And when you look at Minnesota defensively, they lead the NFL in sacks. But more importantly, they've got 11 different players who have contributed to sacks. And that's pretty unique. So it tells you that it's coming from a lot of different directions. So they can rush the passer with 4, or they can bring multiple looks, multiple pressures, and create a lot of problems. And Dallas has got to figure out a way, or has to have a way, to make sure that Dak's not getting hit multiple times, especially considering the injury. And I'd say that the last thing and the most important thing is from a defensive perspective, and it's their young defense. They can't give up the big plays, and Minnesota's in the top third in big plays gained. Dallas is in the bottom third in big plays allowed, and it's also a situation where Minnesota's been very effective throwing the ball overall, and Dallas hasn't. But let me take or show you what I'm talking about, the type of things that they've got to prevent against, and that are completely preventable. So here's the game against Dallas. They've just gotten a huge play. They've taken the lead. And now this is the ensuing drive. And Dallas is going to play off-man coverage. They're going to bring the safety down into the short zone. They're bringing another safety down to the middle of the field. So it's tighter than zone, but not as risky as press. And right here, Trayvon Diggs is covering Kendrick Bourne, and Bourne's going to push vertically and then hint outside. And what's going to happen is Diggs is going to bite on the outside hint, which now puts him in a bad position. He's underneath Bourne. Bourne does a great job here. You see how he stays outside the numbers. Now that makes the safety only have one possible thing to do, and that should be to play Bourne and get him down, to tackle him. But the safety's decision now, she's going to go try to play the ball, even though there's no chance. And not only does he not play the ball very well, he's jumping after Bourne has already made the catch. It's the difference now between a big play and a game-changing play, and there's no need for it. And when you've got a guy like Trayvon Diggs and you're playing safety and you know he's going to take chances and you benefited from his chances, you can't then take chances yourself. So Dallas can't give up these giant game-changing, momentum-changing plays if they're going to want to beat the Vikings.
Well, I'm glad you keyed on that play, Coach, for two reasons. One is it's another chance for the audience to see that if that safety plays that ball right, it's knocked down, if not intercepted. And this idea that it is just some Mac Jones strike, it's just nonsensical. However, I want to focus on Trayvon Diggs. So if you were playing against Diggs, I mean, he has a pick every game. He had the play that you were talking about, the huge play, was the pick six to take the lead. People are like, oh, he reminds me of Deion. And listen, Deion's the greatest cover corner ever, so that's a little hyperbole, but I get it. Playing Dallas, has a little flash to him, good size. The guy he reminds me of is Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters, who came into the league and immediately led the league in interceptions, but also gave up some huge plays. He was a risk taker and, was a boom or bust corner, if such a thing exists. How would you, if you were the Vikings, attack Diggs? Would you just say, you know what? We're not going to be the next team he intercepts. We're staying away from him. Or would you roll the dice and say, we're going to use his aggressiveness against him. We are going to target him, and we are going to try to make the Cowboys pay for how he's trying to make the big play. How would you go after Diggs?
Well, I coached two players that were incredible in terms of turnovers with Ty Law and Asante Samuel. Both guys had great instincts and could make quarterbacks pay when they were thrown on. But what they both did a really good job of is being unpredictable. With Ty, you didn't know what he was going to do, and sometimes defensively we didn't know what Ty was going to do, and that made him unpredictable. The thing that you want to do with players like that are going to take chances is you want to play off of that need to make a play, just like New England did. And what that means is a lot of double moves. So when you're going to go after him, you're going to run a pattern. You're going to run a pattern so that he sees it, and now he's thinking, okay, the next time that comes, I'm going to go ahead, break up on that, and get my pick. That's when you throw in the double moves, the out and ups, the little hitch and goes, the comeback and goes, all those different things where it sells to him that he's got an opportunity to make a play, and then you throw the double move on him. That's the best way to go after guys like that.
Coach, I think this is a serious candidate for an upset alert because I think Minnesota is better than a lot of people think and better than their record. We know they've won 3 of their last 4, and their losses, close loss to Cincinnati, close loss to Arizona that they obviously could have won, and then a close loss to Cleveland. You mentioned their defense and the pressure they can put on the passer. Offensively, we know that Cousins is having a great year. They've got the great receiving core, and they got a good running game, too. How good do you think Minnesota really is?
I agree with you, Chris. They're underrated. And when you look at those games, the Cincinnati game was a loss in overtime, and it was a fumble late, which set up the loss. And we didn't know how good Cincinnati was at that point. When you look at the Arizona game, what was that? It was a 37-yard missed field goal to win the game for Minnesota, and yep. The kicker had hit a 52-yarder earlier in the game. That really should have been a win as well. The Cleveland game was tighter but still close. What was that? 14-7. That loss. Yep. So they've lost to really good teams, and a couple of those games, you could argue they should have easily won or should have convincingly won. And now they're in a situation where they are underestimated and they are an afterthought. But you look at them cumulatively and holistically, and there's a lot of good things that they do on a week-to-week basis. If they can just put it together and get a little momentum, they could go on a significant streak.
Well, they'll have a nice test in the 5-1 Dallas Cowboys this weekend, so we'll see if the Cowboys can extend their lead. All right, Coach, as always, thank you. It was a great game plan. Learned a lot. We got to shift to the NBA because James Harden not learning a lot from the NBA's new rules. He can't draw a foul anymore. Are the rule changes the only reason for Harden's slow start? The only reason? We'll explain next. First things first. Foul.
That's a foul.
First things first, Big Papi's giving away $25,000 for Game 3 of the World Series on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Super 6 players have won over $5 million. You could be the next jackpot winner. Here's what you do. Scan the QR code, download the app, and answer 6 questions about Game 3 before the first pitch tomorrow night on Fox. Do not miss out. It is free to play. So get after it. Why not? We got to take a turn, though, talk some basketball. And to do that, we head to Brooklyn. Nets hosting the Heat. Another tough night for James Harden. So the 3-time scoring champ still having a hard time getting to the line. Steve Nash called him the poster boy for the NBA's new rules. He continues to not get any of those calls where he creates contact. Last night, another example. 14 points on 4 of 12 shooting. Nets fall to Miami. Also fall to 2-3 on the season. Here's James Harden after the game.
Just getting more confident, being aggressive, and it's getting better every single game. Like, as much as I want to get back to just, 30s and 40 points, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? As much as I want to, obviously would love to. I had no opportunities to play pickup or nothing this summer. You know what I mean? Everything was a rehab for 3 months. From a grade 2 injury that happened three times in one season. So, this is my 5th, 6th game of trying to just play with competition and play against somebody else. And as much as I want to rush the process and be back to, hooping and killing, it's like, I'll take a time. But this is also going to make me stronger at the end of the season. So I just embrace moments like this and things like this, and I just keep pushing through it.
Well, at least in public, Harden is pointing to his sort of rehabbing, get his physical body back into game shape, and not the new rules. Nick, what do you think is the biggest reason for Harden's slow start?
Oh, I think it's all of the above, but I don't think this can be overstated. I think this is the biggest story going on in the NBA right now, is what is happening with James Harden. Let's just show you the numbers for the season. It's not that, he's no longer an MVP candidate through 5 games. He's been one of the worst players in the league, flatly. That's just an objective reading of how he's played through 5 games. How odd is this for James Harden to the rules about not getting to the line? Show the next one if we could, please. For some context here, 5 straight games with less than 5 free throw attempts. Last time that happened to him was a decade ago. By the way, he's had 3 straight games with under 20 points. The last time that happened to him was the NBA Finals, which were his final 3 games with the Thunder. The free throws, though, he has 15 on the season. Little context there. His final 2 years, full years in Houston, he played 146 games. 40 of those, he had 15 or more free throw attempts in a single game. 1 in 4 games. Quarter of the time, he's getting lined 15 or more times a game. He's on line 15 times all year. So why is that? And this is where we say, run the footage. And I would ask the audience when you're watching this, is James Harden trying to score the basketball on any of these plays? The answer is no. Right there, he's just throwing up a shot to get 2 free throws. Nope. How about this one? We can show the next one. We can show them quickly because it's all the same type of thing. Here, he tries to hook Jimmy Butler's arm. Jimmy Butler has arm it. I'm going to hook you. Nope, I'm going to turn the ball over. Show the next one. This one here, he just throws the ball out of bounds because he thinks he's going to get a call. And he does that double swim move thing with his arms. And this last one is the worst one. The last one that I want to show you because it's the 4th quarter. It's a big possession. He has Bam Adebayo beat. But it is so ingrained in him to, instead of try to score, try to get the call, he stops the play and tries to get the whistle. Broussard, he's turning the ball over. He's not hitting shots. He's not getting calls. And if someone came to me, Broussard, and was like, Nick, you're going to keep doing this show, but you're not allowed to be arrogant or condescending on the air when talking about your favorite teams anymore, I'd be like, well, it's all I've ever done. It's going to take me some time, guys. I don't know if I can do it. And so I I think my concern level has been higher than yours on Harden. Yours has to be raising because this is looking awful right now.
Well, first of all, you couldn't do it. All right, let's just get that out of the way.
I know.
But secondly,
you're looking like Harden.
This tape, Nick, is hard to watch. This is hard to watch. And let me say this. If you're right, okay, and James Harden is all of a sudden just a pretty good player, and I got to take issue with you saying he's been one of the worst players in the league. He's average, the numbers, the shooting percentage from 3, from 2, it's bad. I get it. A lot of turnovers too. About 4.5 a game. But he's averaging 16, 8, and 7, Nick. So I'm just saying, not one of the worst players in the league. That's the only beef I have with you. But if you're right that he's all of a sudden gone from being a superstar, arguable top 25 player of all time to just maybe an all-star, I mean, this is a historic collapse. I can't think of a collapse like this that wasn't due to injury or just a guy getting old, neither of which really applies to Harden. Now, he's talking a lot about the hamstring injury, and I've researched it, and he was talking about that in training camp some. And he said, I'm still in rehab, things like that. It was his first serious injury. He came back in the playoffs from it, injures himself again. So I get the struggle he's going through, and I'm going to attribute it mostly to that, Nick. There is some muscle memory going on. You just showed it. That was muscle memory. All of those plays where I've been doing this for 7 years, 8 years, and this is what I'm used to doing. He's obviously got to get over that. He didn't grow up playing basketball that way. He didn't play that way in college. He didn't play that way at Oklahoma City. He didn't play that way when he first got to Houston. So he can change, but he's got to do it in his mind. And then secondly, he's got to get over this mental hurdle of the injury. Because, Nick, the fact that he's shooting 33% from three-point line, that's his worst of his career. That does lead me to believe it's the legs, right? The legs aren't there, okay? And so I do think there's legitimacy to the injury, but he's still got to be aggressive. He is not aggressive. Averaging 15 shots a game, that's his lowest since he left Oklahoma City. And remember, when you take 11 free throw shots a game, that means you're really taking more than your recorded attempts. You can add, what?
That's right.
7 onto that. So the fact that he's only taking 15 shots with 3 foul shot attempts, Wiles, that tells me he is not being aggressive. And I picked Brooklyn to win it all, as you guys know. There is no way. If James Harden is not a superstar, not a star, he can't be a star, he can't be an all-star, he has got to be a superstar, one of the greatest players we've ever seen, for them to have a chance to win the championship.
Well, the other issue, Broussard, is him going to the line is a confidence booster, too. If his shot's not going down, he gets to the line, and that stops the bleeding. And that's the interesting thing about Harden. He's just like you are if you're at home playing basketball. You see the ball go through the hoop, you're like, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. We've seen that with James Harden throughout his entire career. Nick, I want to ask you a question about when you think Harden will be able to get over this. Because like Broussard said, there seems to be a lot of muscle memory. What I think is extra interesting here is that Steve Nash is his coach and Kyrie is still his teammate. Those are two of the best guys in the history of the NBA in driving to the basket and avoiding contact. Steve Nash made a career out of that little in-the-lane floater, and Kyrie's layup package is exact opposite of Harden's. Kyrie is trying to contort his body and put enough spin on the ball where he's focused on getting buckets. Where Harden is not trying to draw contact, he's trying to initiate contact. It's literally the exact opposite. So what makes this more concerning to me is that he hasn't sat down, or maybe he has, but we haven't seen it on the tape. Like, hey, Steve Nash, what do you think I should do? Hey, Kyrie, you're still on the team, right, officially. Hey, have you seen this tape that Nick Wright showed? What do you suggest I do? And if he's this true basketball genius that we've been saying he is for the last decade, then I expect him to grow out of it, but we haven't seen it yet.
Well, I should have maybe said this. I can actually report the second part of that, the Kyrie call did happen, but Kyrie just said, what does tape mean to you, James? Did that happen today or did that happen in your mind? And then James just hung up the phone. He's like, all right, Kyrie, good talking to you, Kai. Appreciate it. See you on IG Live. So I want to be clear. Harden will be better than he's been these 5 games. But Broussard, you said something really interesting there, which was, this is not how James Harden has always played basketball. But it is how he's always played basketball since he's an MVP candidate. Before all this nonsense, he was a really good player. He was not great. Before the free throws and the 13 three-point attempts a game, he was a really, really good player. A sixth man of the year who could be more. It was Daryl. If you guys remember when Daryl traded for him a decade ago, there was real talk about, okay, Daryl probably won the trade, but he can't be the best player on a good team. And it was through the essential mathematical equation of, we're going to shoot 1 billion threes and get to the line more than anyone ever, and we're going to break the math of the game. So Harden has never been an all-time great without this part of his game. And I want to reiterate this point. Him figuring out how to manipulate the rules is not a knock on him. It is a testament to his basketball IQ and to his commitment to trying to find ways to win when he's not the most athletic guy in the league. He's not the strongest guy in the league. He doesn't jump the highest. He doesn't have the prettiest shot. And yet, he scored 36 a game. I just don't think he can do it anymore. I don't think that under these rules, if they're going to call it this way all year, he's going to be a guy that regularly has these massive explosions point-wise. And I'll add one other point, Broussard. You said he's shooting 33% from 3. Part of that's the hamstring. Maybe also part of that is, in years past, one missed three-point attempt a game didn't go down as a three-point attempt at all because he drew some jabroni foul on it. And he got 3 free throws out of it. And this year, that's just a miss, James. Sorry, that's just a miss. And so, this is all bad right now. And I do think that we shouldn't be surprised that when they made a rule that folks were calling the James Harden rule, that it's going to affect James Harden a lot. That they're like, the rule that they implemented because of you and Trae Young, it's going to have a significant impact on you. I think that's what we're seeing.
Here's the thing, Nick. In the videos you showed, though, every one of them, he could have simply tried to score. He could have, the one where he went like this and threw the ball out of bounds. Make a decision that I'm going to shoot the basketball. That's what he's got. I get it. He's been playing this way for years. But it cannot be that big of an adjustment. I'll give him a little time, but he can't adjust. Now, they don't need him to be Houston James Harden, not scoring-wise. They need him to give him about 25, 26 points a game. I think he can do that. He is an elite-level playmaker, and he's lost his swagger. To hear a guy, and I get it, your hamstring's injured, I'm hoping, Nick, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt when he talks about confidence, that he's talking about his legs and his hamstring and his health. But it is baffling, it is startling to see a guy who is so good talk about not having confidence. All right, so he's got to get himself back together mentally, because I know KD won't say it and that's his friend, but KD's got to be like, what in the world is going on?
What's happening? Kyrie's MIA and James Harden's MIA.
Yes.
Yeah, poor KD.
Basically MIA.
It's him and Patty Mills.
All right, they're back at it. Harden another shot. See what he can do. They got the Pacers tomorrow night. Hey, let's talk some Baker. He's got a chance to play Sunday against the Steelers. Would it be a big mistake for Cleveland to rush him back with that banged-up left shoulder? We'll discuss that next. First things first on a Thursday morning. Rolling on. Time now for our player resume, brought to you by Indeed. We help people get jobs. Braves, Astros, World Series, Houston offense coming alive last night in Game 2. Prognosticator of prognosticators, Kevin Wildes predicted Jose Altuve would hit a home run, and Jose Altuve hit a home run. Because of course he did. Solo shot in the 7th, put the Stros up 7-2. That was your final. Our World Series all tied up at a game apiece. Wildes, you called that home run from Altuve.
Yes,
how puffy's your chest this morning?
Indeed.
Feeling pretty good about yourself.
Well, stay tuned. This is a tomorrow show, T. Stay tuned for tomorrow when I will have the upset pick alert of the year. Stay tuned tomorrow, 7:30, right here. Keep it on FS1 all day long.
I have
and
to
then
say,
tune back in at 7:30.
Don't lose the channel.
Correct. I have to say, and I'm really glad the Astros won last night because it gives us the chance of having a 7-game World Series, or better chance, I should say. But it is true, Broussard. Wildes has been shockingly good at predicting outlier events. He's picked a bunch of NFL upsets, and he just out of nowhere is like, hey, bet Jose Altuve to hit a home run, which would have paid you like plus 460 on Fox Bet. You're making a lot of money listening to Kevin Wildes. Kind of see, I'm happy for him. There's no snark here. It's just how I feel.
Are you, though?
Patriots over Bucks.
You are right.
Called that one, too.
You're absolutely right, and I'm definitely have my ears perked when Wild says something like there's an upset coming or he makes a prediction.
Hey,
so
Broussard, tune in tomorrow.
Although, he did also say that Seattle was going to the Super Bowl, so that that might trump all of
the Super Bowl.
But good for the Astros. Nick, you're right. You are right. I'm looking forward to a long series.
All right, 7:30 tomorrow morning.
All right. Yes.
Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve, and we are in Brooklyn. Heat, Nets, another tough night for James Harden. So the 3-time scoring champ still having a hard time getting to the line. Steve Nash called him the poster boy for the NBA's new rules. He continued to not get any of those calls last night when he created contact. 14 points on 4 of 12 shooting. And a loss. Nets lose to Miami. They fall to 2-3 on the season. Here was James Harden explaining everything after the game.
Just getting more confident, being aggressive, and it's getting better every single game. Like, as much as I want to get back to just 30s and 40 points, you know what I mean? It's like I can't do that. You know what I mean? As much as I want to, obviously would love to. I had no opportunities to play pickup or nothing this summer. You know what I mean? Everything was rehab for 3 months from a grade 2 injury that happened three times in one season. So, this is my 5th, 6th game of trying to just play with competition and play against somebody else. And as much as I want to rush the process and be back to, hooping and killing, it's like, I'll take the time, but this is all going to make me stronger at the end of the season. So I just embrace moments like this and things like this, and I just keep pushing through it.
So is it the hamstring or is it the new rules change? And he wants to get back to 34 points tonight. Is that on the board? Lots of questions. Chris Broussard, what do you think the biggest reason is for Harden's slow start?
I'm going to admit, Jenna, it's hard to listen to arguably was one of the top 25 players to ever play the game, make excuses like that, even if it's an explanation. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it's an explanation. But it's hard to hear him say he's got no confidence and I can't get 30 points now. I do think the hamstring recovery is bothering him. He has been talking about it since training camp, saying he's still in rehab. He didn't get to, do what he wanted to over the summer. The fact that he's only shooting 33%, Nick, from 3-point range, that's a career low. I think that supports his argument that my legs aren't quite there. As somebody that picked the Nets to win the championship this year, I am hoping that James Harden's explanation of I'm still banged up, I'm not quite myself yet, is true. Because if it's due to the officiating, if it's due to him not being able to get calls and he can't shift his mentality to, instead of looking for fouls, just go look to finish, then the Nets have no shot. They don't need Harden cannot be for them just an all-star or a star. He needs to be the superstar he's been for the last 8, 9, 10 years for them to have a chance to win the championship.
Yeah, but he's never been a superstar without these calls. He was really good before he started playing this way. He was not a superstar. And James Harden, his final 2 years in Houston, played 146 games. In 40 of them, he went to the line 15 or more times, more than anybody in the league by a mile. He has gone to the line 15 times at total this year. And can we just run the clips real quick? Here's the issue. He has been rewired his brain to not try to play basketball the way anyone else does. He tries to play the officials. He's not trying to score here. He's trying to get a call. He didn't get it. Show the next one if we can. We can roll through all of these. He can get past Jimmy Butler, but he feels Jimmy Butler's hand on him, so he flails about, and now that's a turnover. Show the next one. He could just put up a shot here. Instead, he does this reverse swim move and throws the ball out of bounds. And this last one's the worst one, Wilds. It's fourth quarter, big possession. He beats Bam, has him beaten. And instead, he feels his hand on him, so he just flails about trying to get a call. Wilds, I feel for Harden. If all of a sudden the FCC made a rule and said, hey, you cannot make impeccable, perfect lists on sports television, I would struggle. I would be like, guys, it's going to take me a while. I don't know what value I'm going to have. But I just don't know, Wilds. He'll be better than this, but will he be great? Will he be a top 10 player in the league? I'm skeptical, Wilds.
The same thing with me. If there was a rule about being handsome and funny and humble, I'd be like, tough spot for old KW.
Great shape.
So I think the biggest question, Broussard, is why aren't other guys struggling with this, right? It happened to Steph once in the preseason. He's like, all right, I won't do that anymore. And Trae Young, which was also called the James Harden Trae Young backup move, Trae Young doesn't seem to be affected. It's because Harden is doing it and has made a career out of it so much more than everyone else. If we can show the graphic, this is not even on drawing fouls in the lane. This is on three-pointers. Way more than Lou Williams, way more than Dame, way more than Steph. So, Broussard, I'm concerned about going to the lane. I'm concerned about the threes. The guy has made more free throws than field goals. This is a signature part of his game that is taken away. If anything, I think we're underplaying how much this affects him.
I'm just going to interrupt everyone because we hinted at it, but now we're going to tell. I'm sorry, Broussard. Today's your birthday. And when you're here on First Things First, we celebrate in a very special way. Wishing Chris Broussard very happy birthday. Check out birthday boy Kareem Abdul-Broussard with the hook shot over our guy Nick Wright.
Nick, yes.
Look at it.
Or is that the hook?
You've always wanted to.
The sky hook, love it. And that's apropos. That's appropriate because Nick was not very nice to me today. Nick was not very nice, so that's what you get, Nick.
They make me Bill William Beer.
Hook shot over.
Y'all insult me.
Have the best day, Broussard. Forget everything about your list. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.